Hope you're staying warm because we just came through a massive cold, really all over the United States with this massive winter storm rolling through. Bitcoin is crashing, housing inventories up. I was looking at some of the data in Florida since 2022, and there's a market right here in Florida that is down 25% from the housing prices in 2022. So with all this craziness going on, what does it mean for the housing market nationally and especially here in Florida?
As we enter 2009, many are predicting the housing market will continue its slump and prices will fall even further. In October, they fell by 18% from the year before, the sharpest drop on record. Here's CBS News correspondent Kelly Wallace.
All right, I'm not Kelly Wallace, but I'm going to give you my opinion after lending here specifically in the Central Florida market for 22 years, going through 2009 and 2008, the Great Recession, and why everyone, when you go on YouTube, you look at all these crazy videos about an upcoming market correction, but again and again and again, they're wrong. And it's simple because there's emotion and there's data. And I like to look at the data and see what is likely to happen. And of course, zeroing in here on the Florida market and Central Florida market. Now, let's look at rates because this is going to drive the market. And I took this today back to 2024. A lot of people forget that we actually did hit 6% and close to 6% in interest rates back in September of 2024, shot all the way back up, all the way back down in the low sixes. Just to say that we don't know what's going to happen in the market. If I was betting, rates are going to stay lower, but are they going to get as low as people thought? I pulled this chart up of all the different indices that are kind of picking interest rates or trying to predict rates. And you have NAR predicting 5.8% rates by the end of the year. You can see Fannie Mae 5.9, Wells Fargo 6.1, 6.2, 6.4, with kind of the consensus of the new normal being about 6%. And actually, we kind of are already at 6%. So they're really saying that the market is going to flatten out from here. I did predictions where I thought we'll be in the mid fives by the end of the year. No one really knows. But at this point, we've had a lot of the major drop in rates. And look at this article here. We're still up 10%. Inventory is still up year over year, 10%. But here's the key. Growth is slowing, meaning the amount of inventory that is coming on the market is slowing. And the big metrics that people like to look at is the 2019, what we call pre-pandemic levels. Are we below pre-pandemic levels or above, right? And nationally, we are below the pre-pandemic level, meaning we haven't even hit inventory back in 2019. If we could put like 2008 on here, it would be off the scale. And then when we look specifically here in Florida, this is like the shift since 2019 in inventory, and Florida is up 5%. You can see some areas are way low in inventory still, which is why nationally, we have kind of nationally still below those 2019 levels, but certain states like Florida getting closer and closer to that. Meaning, obviously, it's been softer here in Florida than some other states for all kinds of different reasons. The real question is what's going to happen going forward, because if that is slowing, are we going to get a correction, say, here in Florida? Because it doesn't really matter what it means nationally. So I want to zero in for a second in the Florida market and just look at a few key metrics. This is Redfin. Anyone can pull this up. They do a pretty nice graph where you can just look at a few different things. So median price, I put it back to 5 years, the furthest they would go. Everyone was predicting a market correction on price. That really hasn't happened, right? Median days on markets went up and other indices and things that we look at, but not that. Also, let's look at Florida housing supply. So supply did jump up a lot in 2025, and now you can see supply is starting to fall, and it really has, obviously risen since 2022, but now we're on a downward trend. And I also like to look at this home drop, homes with price drops. A lot of people talking about sellers lowering their price. But I want to look at data instead of emotion, because we all know stories in the market of a seller that didn't get their price. But a lot of times they're just priced out of the market. They priced it incorrectly. Price drops are down. And you can see that is not, that is a lot lower from where we're at in 2021 and 2022. But this has made a big adjustment down from over 30% right last year in May. And then when you want to look at the most competitive cities here in Florida, these are the top 10. And I'm not going to read them all, but Mineola, which I don't know a lot about, Alafay over by UCF, this is kind of the top 5, and you can see all the way to the top 10 here in Ocoee. And still nationally, where's everybody moving to? That's here in Florida. So Those numbers don't surprise me. I've been doing videos for many years now on the market, and even though demand has fallen, meaning less buyers are in the market, inventory hasn't really shot up like it did in 2008, just because the mortgages were not all adjustable. There wasn't all these 2-year fixed rate loans that a lot of people were doing back then. And the biggest thing is look how much homeowners are sitting on equity, right? The name of this article is the housing's quiet shock absorber. U.S. homeowners at large have a giant equity buffer in the cycle, and you can see over 60% of the people have at least 25% in equity. And look at the amount of people that have their homes paid off right here. 40% percentage of owner-occupied units without a mortgage, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. That is 40%. That is insane to me that 40% of the people have their house paid off, which again just goes to show you why the housing market is so resilient, is because so many people are going to keep their home no matter what, especially owner-occupied houses. And that article that I showed in the beginning is just not played out. We're not going to see a giant market correction at this point. We are going to see, in my opinion, opportunity. Right now, people wait for the wrong time. We've got rates close to 6%. We have sellers paying all kinds of closing costs, all kinds of incentives. People are getting their rates bought down well below 6%, especially if they have good credit. They're doing FHA, VA loans, and on top of that, getting the seller buydowns or seller assistance to buy those rates down. So it is a golden opportunity. The really only thing I still hear every once in a while someone say they're worried about a price correction. And that's why I decided to do this video, because don't get your financial advice from me. There's no guarantees. I just don't see it. One last graph here I thought for pricing since 2022, specifically at Florida. Miami up 2.6% since 2022 housing price shift. Orlando, according to this graph here, about 4, close to 5%. Look at Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, Northport, 25%. That is what you call a major housing correction. Now, what do I think is likely to play out? I think there's a few things that we want to be paying attention to. One, AI. We're using AI more and more in our business. You've got to run your business more efficiently and also know how to get around the quirks of AI with prompting, using agents, and using the software that you already have that's partnering with all these AI tools. And you better be learning those tools, and those have become more and more important. Two is to not take the advantage of their opportunities when they're there. I still see people sitting on the fence waiting for lower rates. If rates get 1/4 to 3/8% lower than where they're at now, it probably lower the average payment $80, $90 for someone, and it's going to create more competition. So I just wanted to look at the overall health of the Florida market. I'm curious, comment what you think. Do you think the housing market is going to continue to fall in price, stay softer, or if rates do trickle down, we're going to get more demand? Buyer participation is super low, and in my opinion, it can only go up from here. So we're going to track all this and more. We have a lot of interesting things coming throughout this year with all kinds of different things and data coming out. My opinion is we're going to see this steady trickle up. We're going to hopefully get over 4.5 million transactions this year. And I don't know if we'll hit 5 million, but we'll track all that data and more. Hey, everyone, this is Race Robinson, your favorite Florida mortgage broker. Have a great day, great week, and I'll talk to you soon.